Miranda, tell me what's the situation at the White House right now
Great.
following the drone landing on the White House lawn this morning?
Well, we found out that the Secret Service has found the person who is responsible for flying the drone over the fence into the south lawn of the White House. And it's a government employee based here in D.C., not affiliated with the White House, but the man has turned himself in and said that he was flying the drone for recreational purposes early this morning. The drone flew over the fence and crashed on the south lawn around 3 a.m. this morning. And he says that he did it by accident, that it was not intentional, that there was no purpose in flying it over the fence, that he lost control, and that is where it crashed. And that is what the Secret Service believes as well. They are saying that they take what he says to be true, and that they believe that that is a closed case.
Now, I would think in this situation, when he's a government employee, he would know that that might raise a few alarms if you go flying a drone near the White House at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yes, you would think so, but apparently this man did not necessarily think so, or at least that is what we're hearing right now in reports. We haven't gotten any specifics about why he was in possession of that drone and why he was so close to obviously very strictly secure area. Actually, there are the airspace around the White House is very, very restricted, including all of Washington, D.C. Actually, after the 9/11 attacks, the FAA imposed very strict aviation restrictions over the airspace. And so whether this man was aware of this or not is really the ultimate question.
Absolutely. We're also concerned, though, about the rules regarding drones. Tell us about some of those and why there's such a gray area here.
The rules regarding drones is actually very murky right now. We've been waiting on regulations from the FAA all the way back until 2008. And finally, Congress in 2012 issued guidelines to the FAA that they had to come up with regulations about flying drones in the U.S. airspace by the end of 2014. And now 2014 has obviously come and gone, and we're now in 2015, and we're still waiting on those regulations. Those regulations would be for the use of commercial drones. Right now, recreational use of drones for hobbies, for flying, that is okay with the FAA as long as it's under 400 feet and with your own eyesight. But in terms of flying drones for commercial purposes, if you wanted to take photos for real estate, whether you wanted to survey your land for farming purposes, that is still considered a no-no for the FAA. And we are hoping to hear back on those actual regulations any day now. It can come as early as Friday, sources are telling me.
Of course, with a situation like this, the concern is for the first family, for the president and first lady, for their children as well. I understand that the president is traveling right now, but there was the possibility that the children were in the White House at the time. Is that right?
That is right, yes. Both Malia and Sasha are still at the White House, even though the president and the first lady are traveling in India right now.
So what kind of concerns does the Secret Service have with this kind of thing happening, especially with the Secret Service really coming under fire for its security issues just in the recent past?
Yes, there has been a slew of questions regarding the way that the Secret Service has been securing the White House lately. Obviously, our thoughts go back to what happened at the end of last year with the White House intruder, a man who jumped the fence in broad daylight, got as far as inside the White House door before he was apprehended. And 4 very senior Secret Service officials were actually demoted because of that. And this isn't the first time that we've had instances with drones getting close to the White House or other government buildings. Actually, the FAA issued a statement last year that told of numerous instances where drones have been spotted around the White House. Actually, in August, police apprehended 2 men for 2 separate instances. One was flying a drone by the Capitol. The other was flying a drone only 2 blocks away from the White House. They actually caught him when he was climbing a tree to retrieve the drone which had crashed up there.
Now, Miranda, explain to our audience, if you will, what are the concerns with these drones? What are the concerns with the safety of those at the White House? With this, you know, what can be carried on them? What can they be used for?
Sure. Drones are, depending on the size, drones obviously are able to carry things. They can have cameras mounted to them for security purposes, or in extreme circumstances, which I believe is what the fear was at the White House, is that it could potentially have a bomb strapped to it as well. This drone in particular was a 2-foot drone, a quadricopter. It could have held up to 2 pounds of items. And that was what concerned the White House, and why Secret Service, when they first found out that the drone had crashed on the lawn, had a temporary lockdown of the White House. Eventually, they were able to ascertain that there was no threat there and that there was nothing strapped of imminent fear on top of the drone. But that is always a concern, especially when we're dealing with something that can so easily jump the White House fence.
Right. We've seen at the White House there is extreme security in place. They have snipers on top. They have various other security measures that I'm sure we are not aware of. But do you know if they have any kind of plan for handling something like this?
That is something we are trying to determine. As of now, we know that that anything put over the White House gates is against rules, and that it's a breach of security, whether that be jumping the fence or throwing something over the fence. And drones definitely qualify under this situation. The Secret Service has yet to comment about whether they have any specific deadlines dealing with this, because it is somewhat of a new technology and becoming more widespread. I have a feeling that they will be talking about that in the near future.
Absolutely, and I know that you'll continue following that for us and keep us posted on Decode DC.